So we're here with Reverend Phil Jackson of Life Change AME Church. And thanks for coming in, Reverend Phil.
Thank you for having me.
So I guess the first question is, how did you get involved with Crossroads and Joe Tarasik?
I met Joe about 4 or 5 years ago.
Mhm.
I was working with reentry, recovering, returning citizens in D.C., and he had a client he wanted me to see. And we began to engage each other about this particular client that was dealing with substance abuse.
Okay.
And from that experience with that client, Joe and I built this relationship, and he let me know, began to share with me his vision and what he believed God was leading and guiding him to do.
Okay, so that was in the early stages of God leading Joe to showing him the vision of
Yes.
a recovery center like this.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. He always talked from the very start. He always talked about a recovery center,
Okay.
Christian based, that God had shown him a few years back when he was incarcerated.
Okay. And what's the state of that situation here in the country, the DC area? Obviously, a big need for facilities like this, but where are we in that battle?
It's a losing battle right now, as many of the cities and counties are declining their resources to this particular population. We're finding that more and more substance abusers are being put on the street or into shelters, which tend to lend to their addiction. So the lack of resources, we're seeing more and more on the streets. An idea like this begins to, and sitting in the center of Washington, D.C. and Baltimore, and all the counties in between, an idea like this begins, is right for the moment. It's a word we use in the church is kairos. It's the opportune moment because it's needed so much, and so many are impacted by it. And so and I think Crossroad has the right attitude towards it because they do see it as both a disease and a spiritual warfare.
Okay, help us understand what the difference is between a center like this and a homeless shelter.
A center like this, first of all, it has the restraints. It's an institution, whereas the support system, the services that provide it, it's what I would say is a one-stop shop. The client can come in, live, eat, sleep, possibly learn a trade or a skill set that is conducive to getting him transitioning from what he used to do and being transformed to this newness, as opposed to a homeless shelter. A homeless shelter tends to just house a person, and in the morning time they're gone, back out to the streets, and they come back in the evening. And so in that time there's no restraints, so they're free, and they're free to do anything they want. And there is a attitude, if I may say, with being homeless. Depression steps in, shame, which lends to using again, trying to drown that attitude. They start using. And so I'm always concerned, not only with returning citizens that had a previous addiction problem that become homeless. I'm always concerned because that begins to spark the addiction again.
Early on here at Crossroads, we were given 3 words: recover, equip, and restore. Can you speak to why those 3 goals or those things are important in serving those who are struggling with addictions?
Oh, sure. In terms of recovery is an opportunity to bring the client back to a state, to me, of humanity, for the most part, with all the rights, food, shelter, opportunities, and that tends to open them up right now. And so once they get in that recovery part, understanding, beginning to recognize there is an issue. But at the same time, recognizing that I am somebody, I'm a human, I had some faults, dealing with my hurts and my pain. We start to move in. Once you get them to be conscious of that, you start to move in what I would call equipping them with the necessary skill sets or life skills to adapt and adjust. And the restoration portion is now, if they have been through this process of recovery, equipping, and now you're restoring them now through this process, that you're releasing them back into the community. And I like what a Crossroads is doing, because you're trying to build relationships within the community, that you're just not sending them out restored, but you send them out that they continue to get some of the nurturing that they would need as they prepare to become productive citizens in the community.
Well, great. Thank you, Reverend Phil. Appreciate you stopping by and sharing your insight with us. And we'll talk to you soon.
I thank you. I'm glad to be here. Glad to be a part of it.